Peace, peace, people. Welcome to Yemima's World, the Jelly Moose's Cafe. I am your hostess, Yemima, and it is good to be black in the land of the living once again. I wanted to come on really quick just to do this video about ancestor altars. Um, a lot of people that are new to different practices are asking questions about how to create an ancestor altar, and I am not new to the practice, nor have I been in it a very long time. So I'm just going to talk about how I built my ancestor altar for the first time, and then briefly just talk about the different types of altars that I have now. You will grow, you will evolve from your first altar to, once you become more acclimated into whatever practice you have, you will grow and you will learn. All right, so I created my first ancestral altar on purpose. And I say on purpose because most of us in the Black community already have ancestral altars, whether you are part of the African spirituality, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, it doesn't matter. Most of us have had ancestral shrines or altars growing up in the house. We just didn't call them that. It was just a place for Big Mama to put things on. It would be obituaries. It could be pictures of their grandparents or parents, um, things that were significant to their loved ones. They didn't call it an altar, and they didn't necessarily go to it and pray to it. They just had it there. So when I say made one on purpose, mean I did it with intention. I made sure I had specific things for my ancestral altar. The first one that I made was right after my mother transitioned and joined the ancestors. All my life, I have been in tuned to the other side. I didn't consider it anything woo woo or spooky. That's just in the Black neighborhood, in the Black communities, in the Black church. It's just you talking to the other side or talking to your ancestors. So when my father passed away, the very next night that he passed away, I dreamed about him. And in the dream, he came to me and he said that, excuse me, in the dream, he actually made a phone call to the family. And he asked me to gather everybody around the phone. And he told us he was okay, that he had made it to the other side and to stop crying. He was happy. He was okay. Fast forward many years later, my sister transitioned and she joined the ancestor, my oldest sister. And after she joined the ancestors, every time we would talk about her, the lights would flash. And so we knew she was okay. She was on the other side and she was okay. So when my mother transitioned, she transitioned 6 months after my sister. So we lost my mom and my sister 6 months apart. During the last 3 or 4 months of my mom's life, I was her primary caregiver. I was with her 24/7. So after she joined the ancestors, I didn't hear anything. No dreams, no indication that she was okay, nothing. And I was really fearful. I knew she wasn't in what they call hell or purgatory, but I was feeling like, oh my God, is she okay? What is going on? Nothing, no indication at all. And so I reached out to a friend of mine who I knew practiced spirituality, and she connected me with another friend of hers. And she told me, she said, set up an ancestral altar. And I didn't know what that was. And so she told me, she said, pick a spot in a room where there's not a lot of traffic. And it was hard to do because I lived alone. I actually still lived in the apartment that I shared with my mom. And she told me, she said, you're going to put a white cloth on the space. And I found the perfect space. It was my mom's old bedroom, the bedroom she slept in. And there was a chair beside the bed, and there was a little table. And so I chose that table. And I put a white cloth on it. And she said, you want to have the elements earth, wind, and fire. And so, earth, she said, you may want to do a plant. Wind, of course, would be incense. Fire would be a candle. She said, and you also want to put a drink of water on there. She said, start with that. And then once you have that, she said, just go and sit and talk to your mom, whoever it is you're looking to get, energy from. And so I built this altar. There was really nothing on it except for the three things that she told me, well, the four things that she told me to put on it. And so I would sit there in that chair, which is the chair I would sit by her bed when she was sick. And I just started talking to her. And within days, I started to hear her name everywhere. Everywhere I went, I would hear the name Margaret. Everywhere I went, I was like, okay, okay. And then I had a dream about her. And in the dream, she was okay. I was crazy because I remember in the dream, um, learned then what a dream about someone was in a visitation. And so when you dream about someone in the dream, they're living and they're supposed to be living in the dream, and you maybe dreaming about old times or dreaming about that person back in the day. A visitation is in the dream, you're wondering why they're there because you know that they have transitioned and passed on to the spiritual world. So in that dream, I remember me and mom were on a bus and I was asking, what are you doing here? And she told me that she was fine. She was going on a trip with me. So after sitting at my altar for a few days and talking to her, um, she came to me and let me know that she was okay. So that was the first altar that I built or that I created. And then I just started to add on and to add more things to the altar. I added pictures to the altar. Now, when I started adding pictures, no one told me that you weren't supposed to put people that were still alive. And I had a very special picture of me and my mom on the altar. And I put that picture on it, and it was not long. I swear to God, I developed fibromyalgia. I was sick, and so someone told me, I think I reached out to someone and they said, no, you're not supposed to put a picture of anybody living. They could become ill. And so I quickly took that picture off. But unfortunately, I still suffer with fibromyalgia because it was something that came with the stress of losing my sister and my mom so close together, and then putting that picture on the altar. So I added pictures of my mom, my dad, my grandparents, and I started giving offerings. And I started giving offerings of things that they liked. And they would tell me what they wanted. When I would smell cigars, I knew that was my grandfather and he wanted a cigar. So I would go to the store and I would buy a cigar and I'd light it and puff on it a few times to keep it burning, and I would put it on the altar. If I was watching something on TV and one of their favorite foods came up, I'm like, oh, okay, so this is what they want. And I would go and get it and I would put it on the altar. Now this has been 7 years ago. So now my altar has evolved a little bit more. Um, I still have, I don't have a plant on my altar because I'm not a plant person. And not that I don't love plants, I can't keep them. I don't have a green thumb, and so my plants die too quickly. Um, so I don't have a plant on my altar to represent earth, but I have crystals. So I have crystals on my altar. I have still have my grandfather's cigar. I have snuff. I have my two small miniature lama damas to protect my altar. Um, I have a little basket that was made in Ghana, and in that basket keeps my crystals. I have John the Conqueror root, represents of earth, and I always put an offering of food. They get a fresh offering of food every 2 days. Always water, try to keep fresh water. I have a little bottle of alcohol. Sometimes I'll put some shine on the altar because my Southern roots, my great grandparents and grandparents, they made shine. And so I keep shine on there. Well, I don't keep it on there, but I put that on there sometimes. And on Sundays, I will do a big dinner because my mother and my grandparents, my grandmothers always cook the big dinner on Sunday. So Sunday they will get a dinner like they had back in the day. And I went to my mother's house last year, and my brother lives there now. My mother had this china cabinet where she had her special dishes that she would only use whenever the pastor would come to dinner. And so I took one plate and a glass. And so I served Sunday dinner on that special plate and used that special glass for liquids on Sunday. I've also evolved where now that I understand that giving offerings, it's not just food. You don't have to just offer food. Um, I offer music. So sometimes on Sundays, I will play gospel music because I know that that is what they listen to on Sunday. But I also will play African music because I want to reach back to my African ancestors, my Balanta ancestors from Guinea Bissau, my Mali ancestors, my Imohog ancestors from Mali. And so I'll find music on YouTube, Mali music, and I'll find Guinea Bissau music, and I will play that as well. I will play sermons. I know that my mother preferred, different preachers, and so I'll find sermons and I will play them on Sunday. I'll also sing to them. I sang in the choir. My father was a singer. He was a musician. He could play piano or organ, and his um, his grandmother was a singer. His auntie was a singer. So I sing to them songs that we would sing in church on Sunday. I read to them. I have my mother's Bible, and so I will read. She has passages marked in her Bible, and so I'll read passages to her, um, and I'll dance with them. I'll play musical instruments. I have a small djembe. I may play the drum. I may play the tambourine. Um, I'll dance with them. I'll put on like ring shout music and I'll dance with them. Sometimes on Friday night, I will put on old juke joint music from the like 1920s because I know that my great grandparents, of course, they went to the juke joint, you know. So I will play some old blues music and put a little bit of moonshine on a Friday night and just let it play, And then sometimes on Sunday evening, I know that um, we lived in a small town. And so Sunday mornings, you had the gospel music on the radio up until like 3 o'clock. So from morning to about 3 o'clock. Then after 3 o'clock, it would be old school R&B. And so on Sunday afternoons, I'll switch it over from gospel to old school R&B because I have a lot of cousins on the other side of the veil that sit among the ancestors. And they unfortunately transitioned young. They were, all of them were in their 50s and early 60s. And so they would remember those 70s classic R&B songs. And so will play those on Sunday evenings. And that's how I communicate with my ancestors at the altar. That's me. I'm just giving you ideas of what I do. I have evolved from one altar. I now have three altars. I have one altar that I give offerings to. That is my main altar. That's where I communicate with the ancestors at every day. I greet them every morning. I greet them at night and all through the day if I'm home. And then I have another small altar that just has a lot of personal items from my grandparents, from my mom and dad, from my sister. And then I have a working altar, which house my tarot cards, my oracle decks, my skulls, my mother's kerosene lamp. I keep a little bit of moonshine on that. It has, what else does it have? Oh, I keep sage and incense on that as well. I keep my Kananga water, my Florida water. So that is my working altar where I pull cards weekly, monthly, whenever I want to do a spread, when I need to hear from them. That's my working altar. Once a month, I do a special ritual. Um, and, you know, I'll tell you more about that. So, yeah, that's what I do for my ancestors. That is my altar setup. I hope that this helps anyone who is looking to build an ancestral altar. Now, the picture that you see is not mine. I do not show publicly my ancestral altar because it is sacred to me. You will see it if you ever came to my apartment because it's just me. So my altars are in my living room because I don't have foot traffic. But I do not show them online because they are sacred and they are personal and they are special to me and my ancestors. So the next video, again, will be a short one, but I'm going to show you um, how my communicating with my ancestors and how that has evolved and how they come to me and how they give me answers based on how I address them or how much attention I pay to my altar. And I'll show you how they have showed up in my water. I won't show you all the pictures, but I'll show you one picture how they have physically faces have shown up in my water when I have done that special ritual that I do once a month. All right. So again, I hope this helps. Again, this is just my way of communicating with my ancestors. This is how I have set up my altar. If you have any questions, please drop a comment down below. Hit the like button for this video. Please subscribe to the channel. I'm giving some really good information and I will continue to give information and not just about ancestral. Well, it will be about ancestral because it'll be about Black history and that's ancestral. But I read books for kids on this channel. So please like, subscribe, and share the video. And the next episode, again, I will be talking about how my ancestors show up for me and how I make sure that I maintain my altar. One other thing, I change my altar, I clean it once a month at the beginning of the month or the last day of the month. I take everything off of my altar. Um, I cleanse all of my things on the altar with Kananga water or Florida water. I wash my cloth and it stays off for a whole day. And then the first of the month, I will put everything back. I will, burn sage and incense to cleanse the space. And then I'll put everything back on my altar for another 30 days. And then at the end of the month, I will clean it again. All right. Until next time, you know the drill. Love yourself, love each other, give yourself some grace, give each other some grace. Stay healthy, stay cool, and most important, stay Black. Honor your ancestors, and they will honor you. Peace.